This is what happens when at night. No, not you. No, not you. How did Zoro get here? Yes, you. When a knight gets transported back to Earth after killing the Demon King and finds out he has a daughter. Hope you guys do enjoy this recap, and I'll see you guys at the secret ending. We are introduced to the world of Sadea, a high-level world on the front line of an invasion from a place simply known as the Abyss. With large armies of terrifying monsters, the Abyss brought humanity on this planet to the brink of despair. Yet there is still hope for Sadea's people. According to legend, a knight of the sanctuary whose power is above the supreme knights will rise and turn the tide against the armies of the Abyss. The next scene shows a large army of monsters led by their leader Thor, the Lord of the Abyss, surrounding the Void military stronghold. He gloats as he stares down from the few remaining survivors of the stronghold. Sadea's population has bitterly resisted his invasion for 300 years. So 300 years. But after accumulating heavy losses, they retreated to their remaining strongholds. Sadea is almost in their hands. However, the survivors have not given up hope. Led by our protagonist, Zuo Yi, the legendary knight of the sanctuary, they face the incoming army with determination as they kneel down to pray. Holy symbols surround Zuo Yi and the survivors as they muster up the last of their strengths to stage one final stand against the Lord of the Abyss. Sensing the danger, Thor dashes in to interrupt Zuo Yi before he could finish his attack. But Thor was too slow, and a mighty light shines from Zuo Yi's sword as he strikes the Lord of the Abyss. Thor can only despair as Zuo Yi's skill pierces through his abdomen while summoning golden chains that bind him. However, Thor could not accept his fate. He mustered all his remaining power and released a dark aura that wrapped around the chains that bound him and even Zuo Yi himself. The last thing Zuo Yi sees before the strange aura covers him are the glowing red eyes of the Lord of the Abyss. We are then greeted by a bustling crowd in the middle of a city. A couple and a passing girl notice a strange man wearing some old-fashioned but exquisite armor. The strange man is our protagonist, Zuo Yi, who is very hurt and very confused. Where the heck was he? He first uses a web of loss to find Thor. However, to his surprise, he could not find him, making him suspect that he died from his attack. Zuo Yi looks around to see if he can recognize anything before his eyes are attracted to the words on a hanging banner. Daxia. That's from the original world. After being transmigrated to another world for hundreds of years, he has finally returned to his home planet of the Blue Star. Our boy just got isekai'd 2 times in a row. Completely bewildered by his situation, he turns around to see the girl from earlier taking photos of him. Pretty rude of her, but as a man of God, Zuo Yi does not call her out and instead asks her what year it is. Although confused why this man looks like somebody straight out of World of Warcraft would ask this, she still tells him that it is currently the year 971, 3 years after Zuo Yi has transmigrated. With more questions than answers and still no sign of Thor, Zuo Yi decides to go to his old house first and figure things out from there. Angelic wings sprout from his back as he prepares to take off, which scares the living daylights out of one bystander. Realizing that showing off powers on an ordinary planet might not be the best idea, he quickly retracts his wings, leaving this poor dude thinking he was about to be taken to heaven or something. However, now, Zuo Yi is in a dilemma. He has no money to hail a taxi, and going home by foot does not sound appealing. And trust me, I think we've all been there. He ponders for a moment before having an idea. Zuo Yi walks around until he finds a jewelry shop, and he decides to enter. A lady greets Zuo Yi as he enters the shop. He approaches her and inquires whether they accept gold. As soon as gold was mentioned, a man introduces himself as a store manager, pops out of nowhere, and hurriedly pushes the girl aside like an absolute mean dude. The dude's money-making instincts were on point. Zuo Yi pulls out a golden coin and offers it to the store manager to appraise it. The manager was shocked by its unique design, with his shock turning into greed instantaneously after determining that it is 100% gold by testing its hardness. That doesn't sound right since gold is supposed to be soft, but the manager seems like an expert, so let's just believe him here, guys. This makes the coin extremely valuable, but like most dealerships, the manager lies for extra profit. He lowballs the offer to Zhu Yi, offering him 40,000 yuan for the coin. Just wanting to go home quickly, he accepts the offer and allows the manager to successfully scam him. Well done, guys. He may be a legendary knight, but his bartering is terrible. Still, the money is decent and he uses it to buy clothes and a new phone. But as soon as he registers his new SIM, he receives a call from his uncle Zhang from the police station, who berates him for ignoring his calls for 3 years, and he informs him that his house is now about to be demolished. Dang, his uncle really called him over and over again for 3 years straight, yet I can't even get a text back. Let's get back to the story here. Right after the call, his phone rings again. A female voice introduces herself as somebody from the public childcare center in Hangzhou and informs him that he needs to pick up his child. He immediately ends the call, grumbling to himself about how amateurish that scammer was. Look who's talking to you. You just got scammed at the jewelry store. Zhu Yi hails a taxi and takes it to his old home. He soon arrives at his home and steps into his courtyard for the first time in 3 years. He approaches the door and attempts to open it, but accidentally rips it off with his strength. Not to be embarrassed, he shows off more of his God-given paladin strength by straight up eliminating the door with holy power. A dusty and abandoned house greets him. Years of neglect has taken its toll on the house. Zhu Yi spots an old picture of his mother, and a wave of nostalgia hits him. He always wanted to bring her back from the dead, which was his main reason for becoming a paladin in the first place. But even when he became a legendary knight, he was not able to bring her back. He regrets not being able to do it, even after hundreds of years. He looks around again and decides to clean up the messy house. A flash of golden light appears as he uses his powers to summon a beautiful magic flower. He tosses another gold coin toward it and asks it to clean up as he leaves. A blue man materializes to catch the coin as a magical flower turns into a Jin servant. As Zhu Yi passes by the door, he unnecessarily obliterated. He also reminds the Jin to replace the door. Having no choice, the Jin now has to clean the old house and his master's mess. Poor guy. Blue flames shoot out of the Jin as he uses cleansing flames to clean up the mess. Zhu Yi stays outside as the Jin cleans. Now that he is back home, he can focus on gathering more information. He's had a strange feeling for a while now, so he uses his skill, Spirit Vision, to see the reality of the natural world. With this skill, he was able to see all sorts of monsters and creatures lurking around Blue Star. He was surprised. This means that the Blue Star is a low transcendent world. Suddenly, Zhu Yi is alerted to a strange disturbance. The web of laws started to shake violently. It's as if the world is repelling something big, something powerful. But he was distracted by another text from the same public daycare. Still convinced it's a scam, he visits the official website to get their number. A lady picks up his call, and he books an appointment for 2 p.m. He scoffs to himself as he ends the call, wondering what kind of nonsense they were going to tell him. On the other hand, the lady finishes the call when she notices someone entering the room. We are then greeted by the cutest face I have ever seen. A little girl who looks like a mix between a white bunny and Anya Forger from Spy Family. She approaches the lady and cutely asks if that was her daddy on the phone. The daughter is real. You know what that means, folks. That's right, it's time for the cuteness overload. While Zhu Yi is in the middle of dodging his fatherly responsibilities, we cut to another scene in a room where a lady is discussing the very renovation plan that threatens to destroy Zhu Yi's old home to several rich-looking individuals. Another lady approaches one of the men at the table to give him a message. A mean-looking dude who is introduced as Yuan Bin, the successor of the Hangzhou Jinfu group. The lady informs him that someone is here for him. The sudden disturbance annoys Yuan Bin, but he tells her to let the person in. In walks a familiar face. The greedy manager approaches the impatient Yuan Bin with excitement. In his hands, he holds a box that opens to reveal the golden coin he was sold earlier by Zhu Yi. This straight up angers Yuan Bin, and he yells at the manager for disturbing this meeting just for a gold coin. But the others at the table react differently. The blue-haired Yi Yingzui takes a drop of water from her cup and turns it into a crystal. Snowflakes surround her as she uses crystal to attack the coin. To everyone at the table's surprise, not a scratch was left on the coin. Ye Yingzui surmises that this is a coin that is a transcendent object. The pleasant surprise amuses the last person at the table, who was introduced as Chen Mingzei, a fellow transcendent like his cousin Ye Yingzui, and a direct descendant of the Chen family, which is one of the biggest families in the imperial capital. Scheming on how to obtain more, he asks the manager who he got it from. Meanwhile, the person in question is busy visiting the police. Questioned to learn more about the demolition plan, it was there that he was enthusiastically greeted by Uncle Zong, who playfully teases him for disappearing for 3 years. Zhou Yi makes the excuse that he's been traveling as he receives the papers about the demolition. Uncle Zong warns him that the people behind the plan are barely influential and that if he gets into trouble, he should call to him for help. With a friendly pat on the back, Uncle Zong excuses himself as he still has lots of work to do. Zhu Yi reads the papers related to the demolition before summoning fire from his hands to burn them all. He just got his home back. He isn't letting anyone else take it from him, but his determined inner monologue was interrupted by yet another text from the public daycare. Zhu Yi nearly forgot about the appointment. Having had enough of these scammers, he decides to head there for himself to see what the fuss is about. To his surprise, the daycare is a proper institution. He enters the daycare's massive iron gates and approaches the huge modern building. Inside, he approaches the register, which directs him into a room to wait for Miss Wang Juan, the lady he talked to earlier on the phone. Now Zhu Yi is starting to have doubts. If this is a proper institution, then what is the daughter they are talking about? Maybe this paladin isn't as holy as he says he is. Suddenly he felt his bloodline react to something. He turns around to see Miss Wang Juan walk hand in hand with the little girl from earlier. He quickly activates his spirit vision, which confirms his suspicion. A golden tangle of thin golden lines connect to his heart and hers. She is truly his daughter. The little girl looks up at Zhu Yi with her cute puppy eyes, asking him if he is her father. Her adorableness takes him back by surprise. Suddenly, several years of child support don't seem so bad. Wang Juan formally introduces herself to Zhu Yi as she explains how 3 months ago, a lady named Su Wenqing, who introduced herself as a child's aunt, traveled to the daycare to drop her off. She told them that if she can't be reached, contact her father instead, and she left Zhu Yi's details. It is unclear how she was able to leave the contact details of the new sim Zhu Yi got just a few days ago, nor how she knows him, as Zhu Yi does not recall knowing her. As he is lost in thought, the little girl grabs him by the waist and sniffs him, melting all of her heart in the process. Zhu Yi simply cannot resist this adorable ball of cuteness and decides to take her home. He signs the relevant papers and leaves the building, as the daycare requires a few more procedures before releasing the child to him. The little girl waves goodbye to her new papa as she goes back into the daycare. Now that he has a daughter to take care of, dealing with the demolition plan becomes even more important. Later, we see Zhu Yi relaxing on the balcony of his house while observing the demolition of the buildings around his home. The Jin makes a passing comment while serving him some pastries that the homes can still be used for 100 years and that the demolition is not needed. Zhu Yi responds that human greed is what is making them demolish these houses and that they need to safeguard their house if they want to keep it. The Jin reminds Zhu Yi that he can summon a gargoyle to protect his home from trouble these rich people may cause. Grateful for the reminder, he uses his ring to summon one cool-looking gargoyle and uses another gold coin to make it protect the house. After setting up his protective measures, he receives a phone call. It is the manager again, under orders from Yuan Bin and Chang Mingzhe, to inquire if Zhu Yi had any more golden coins to sell. Knowing that these golden coins can be only made in Sadea, he refuses to sell them at such low prices. Desperate, the manager offers to pay a much higher price than before, to which Zhu Yi replies that they should give him 5 to 10 million at the very least. Yuan Bin scoffs at his reply and offers to buy all his gold coins for 10 million. But Zhu Yi refuses his offer. He wants 10 million per gold coin. It was too understandable for the manager, so he tries to lower the price, but without hesitation, Zhu Yi hangs up. Your scammer tricks won't work this time. The refusal enrages Yuan Bin, and it feels like he's been slapped in the face, wuxia style. He orders the manager to investigate the phone number to find out where Zhu Yi lives. Although Chen Mingzhe looks calm on the surface, he offers to send his men just in case. Within an hour, an army of delinquents arrive in front of Zhu Yi's home. One of them impatiently kicks down the gates and orders everybody to search for him. But before they can start, a black blur knocks the delinquent back and slams him into the car. The gargoyle stands up and lets out a terrifying roar before charging at the delinquents. Any delinquents in its way was sent flying while others ran in fear, believing that they were fighting some sort of demon. Well, technically it was a gargoyle. Suddenly, a ball of fire shoots out from a window into one of the cars. It's the two Transcendents, Chen Mingzhe set, the Clown Transcendent, and Wild Boar Transcendent. They confidently charge at the gargoyle, wielding their powers. But within a few steps, a golden symbol appears and flattens them instantly. Cracking the pavement with its power, it was none other than Zhu Yi, who used the skill Overwhelm once he realized that they were Transcendents. He was surprised that he wasn't able to sense them, but realizes it was because they were just too weak. Well, it's more like the MC is too OP, and that spell was Overwatch. Overkill. After seeing everything that went down, the manager is scared out of his wits. He takes one of the delinquents' motorcycles and flees the scene, but not before Zhu Yi uses a skill that lets him track the manager to know who's behind the attack. Just then, he receives another phone call. Dang, he is one busy dude. It's a call from Miss Wang Juan, telling him that his daughter wants to see him before the tests are done, because she misses him. She passes the phone to the crying child, who complains to her father about how much his daughter misses him. No father can resist after hearing those words. He takes off with his wings to visit her, leaving the poor Jin to clean up his mess again. Poor Jin, guys. The chapter starts, and in the daycare, Zhu Yi's daughter can be seen on her own just hugging her stuffed bunny toy while the rest of the children played with each other. But magically, the children all disappeared in the next image. They probably despawned. The MC's render distance is too low. He really gotta turn it up. Zhu Yi looks at his daughter from the outside gate while holding a giant teddy bear that he bought for her. From there, he calls Wang Juan, telling her that he is waiting outside the gate. Wang Juan hurriedly approaches the gate and opens it for him. However, Zhu Yi declines and asks if she could just give the teddy to Bao Er, which means treasured child in Chinese. He confesses that he isn't good around kids, and that he doesn't know how to approach his daughter. But Wang Juan ain't letting him dodge his fatherly responsibilities just like that. She gives the teddy back and calls Bao Er over, who comes running when she sees her papa. Although he was very stiff and nervous, Zhu Yi was still able to give her the teddy himself, which makes Bao Er very happy. She thanks him as she hugs her new cuddly friend, while Zhu Yi pats her on the head, happy that she likes it. Curiously, Bao Er asks her father if he knew how to play Gobang. Zhu Yi was taken aback at first, because Bao Er knows how to play Gobang at such a young age too, but then proceeds to absolutely wreck her. Look at our MC teaching his child how to deal with loss so early. What a good father. Bao Er is on the verge of tears after losing so much. Okay, now I feel bad, guys. Just look at this adorable blob of fluff. Pitying the poor child, Wang Juan urges him to let her win before she develops PTSD from this game. But all of a sudden, a text comes from Uncle Zong, urging him to come to the station because the Feng family is there. He excuses himself and says goodbye to Bao, who gave a half-hearted goodbye because she's still depressed from losing. However, she instantly cheered up when Wang Juan shows her the board. She won! Zhu Yi changed the placement of the rocks. Aw, now that is so wholesome, guys. Meanwhile, two chubby Fang family members at the station can be seen arguing with Uncle Zong about the rejected application. They argue that Zhu Yi has been gone for 3 years, so they should be allowed to demolish the house. But a voice quickly dashes their hopes. Zhu Yi has returned after 3 years. They were shocked. They thought that he had already died. But one quickly shuts the other up and approaches Zhu Yi with familiarity, asking why they never informed them that he was back. But Zhu Yi brushes them off. He does not wish to demolish the land. In anger, the other member threatens him to hand over the house. He says that he isn't afraid to beat him to death, so he better hand it over before he reunites with his crappy mother. Uh-oh, bad move, man. His comment enrages Zhu Yi as he stares daggers at the family member. His feature seems to melt and change into something horrifying. Dark strings also emerge from him and wrap around the Fang family member's body. This terrifies the Fang family member. He cries and shouts for help, and he pisses his pants in fear. But as he opens his eyes, he sees that everything has turned back to normal. Finished, Zhu Yi then faces the remaining chubby wubby and warns him that the Fang family member better keep their grubby paws off of his family's things. With his message convened, Zhu Yi bids Uncle Zong goodbye, leaving him wondering what happened to him in the last 3 years. What's funny is that a message on the bottom says, from the author actually, that he's been listening to Andrew Tate. Our MC is really trying to be the next top G. Let's go, guys. We time skip to the next morning, where we can see the Jin servant helping Zhu Yi put on a suit and tie. Curious, the Jin asks what suit is this for? To which Zhu Yi responds that it's for finding a job. This gives the Jin a scary shock. The strongest paladin of the sanctuary working a 9 to 5? Come on, dude, the Jin can't even imagine. Zhu Yi reasons that it will allow him to get used to life in Blue Star after being away for so long. Plus, he can't have Bao thinking that her father's a bum now, can we? Using magic, he summons a blue motorbike from a pocket space. First, he needs to visit his old master. Without his teachings, he probably would not have survived the world of Sadea. So he tells the Jin to look after the house and drives off to his master's dojo. When he arrived, he is taken aback by the literally dilapidated or the ruined state of the building. It has changed so much that he can barely recognize it. Even the Marshall Studio sign has turned into a hot pot shop sign. As he enters the floor the dojo is at, he is greeted by the familiar face of his senior sister, managing the front desk. He approaches her and asks if they are hiring sword instructors. Senior sister looks up from her paper to decline. When she recognizes Zhu Yi, she greets him warmly and invites him into the dojo. As they walked, Zhu Yi curiously asks her where his master was at. She sadly informs him that he died half a year ago. This puzzles Zhu Yi. His master was still in his prime when he transmigrated, but they don't dwell on the problem for long. She takes him into the studio where they light some incense for his master. Zhu Yi apologizes for taking so long to visit as he offers his respects. But with a few still suspicions in his heart, he uses a skill to determine that there was something unusual about his master's death. He solemnly vows to avenge his master. After paying their respects, his senior sister admits that the dojo does not have enough money to pay for an instructor's salary. But considering their history, she can still find him another job using her influence. But Zhu Yi feels indebted to her and her father, so he declines her offer and insists on working there, to which his senior sister reluctantly agrees. But on the dot, he receives another text message. It's the daycare informing him that the paternity test is finished, all ready, but his heart isn't ready yet. The chapter starts and Zhu Yi was able to pick up Bao Wei with the help of senior sister Sheng, who dropped them both off at their home. Although surprised that Zhu Yi now has a daughter, she soon falls in love with her cuteness as well and tells Bao Wei to come to play with her again sometime. Bao Wei agrees and bids her goodbye as she leaves. They then enter the gate, to which Bao Wei starts running around the lawn, excited that she gets to live in such a big house. But a shadow suddenly covers her. She looks up to see the menacing figure of the Jin servant looking down on her. The imposing sight makes her burst into tears, much to the dismay of the Jin, who only wanted to see his new young master. She runs to her father for comfort, just for Zhu Yi to sorta stiffly hold her. Inside, he's having a dilemma. Was he supposed to comfort her? How do you comfort a child? Bao Wei was confused as well. This wasn't what the dads on TV did. Looks like the family has a lot to work on, guys. Zhu Yi reassures her, saying that this is just a housekeeper, Egu, who does all the chores for them. This calms her down a bit, as Egu reminds her of her aunt, King. She then looks over to a nearby tree and points towards the hidden gargoyle, asking what that ugly-looking one does. Hey, our boy may have a heart of stone, but I'm sure he has feelings too. This surprises Zhu Yi, as he did not expect her to be able to see through the gargoyle's concealment skill. He reassures her by introducing her to Agwai, the gargoyle. With the introductions finished, Egu gently leads her into the house. Inside, she catches sight of the picture of her grandmother and calls her a cute auntie. Zhu Yi corrects her and invites her to pay respects. Together, they light incense, as Zhu Yi teaches Bao Wei that by doing this, their wishes will carry over to where she is now. She is much too young to understand what is going on, but she still joins our boy. The solemn moment was interrupted by Bao Wei's growling stomach. She hasn't bathed nor eaten ever since coming here. Zhu Yi prepares to cook a meal by himself, to which Egu protests and offers to cook instead. But Zhu Yi wants to impress his daughter, so he declines Egu's offer. However, after burning meat so bad it turned into a lump of charcoal, he decides that maybe ordering takeout is a better idea. Eventually, Bao Wei falls asleep after all the shenanigans she had to go through today. Egu covers her with a blanket, as Zhu Yi tries to read some books on Fathering 101. He is pretty exhausted himself. Taking care of a child is no joke. It's also hard for him how to learn how to cook. Bao Wei starts to sleep, seemingly missing her mother's embrace. As she speaks, a golden aura surrounds her body. This puts Zhu Yi in a state of alert. A mind connection. Someone has tampered with his daughter's body, causing him to be enraged and shake his home with his power. But as he checks his daughter's body, he realized that it is a harmless mind connection and calms down. He observes that it is a link from another world entirely. To his knowledge, there is only one mind connection that can cross worlds, a connection between daughter and birth mother. He takes off and follows the mind connection, but was stopped by the barrier of the world. The injuries he sustained in the Battle of Thor prevent him from leaving the world yet. But suddenly, branches materialize in front of Zhu Yi until a majestic tree appeared in his sight. It is the World Tree. Using the planet's consciousness, it was able to materialize in front of Zhu Yi. A pair of eyes observe him as it welcomes him back. A beautiful-looking elf emerges from the World Tree and greets Zhu Yi as a transcendent who has returned. He reciprocates, greeting the great consciousness of Blue Star. The lady approaches him and invites him to leave his true name in this world. However, Zhu Yi summons a shield and stops her from touching him. He could tell her from her desperate approach that she is a new great consciousness. This confuses her as she does not know why he wouldn't let her touch him. But we all know that only a true Sigma like our MC would refuse a touch of a woman, of course, by his own choice. She hurriedly composes herself and sweetens the deal by explaining to him that with her seal, he can be anchored to Blue Star and not get lost again. Now that he has a daughter, he's more than happy to anchor in Blue Star. However, he cannot just pass up on some possible benefits. Now can he? He tells the consciousness that in return for protecting Blue Star, she has to give her daughter the World Seed, which can protect Bower from calamities and can let her obtain unsuspecting treasures and unexpected treasures as well. The lady refuses. She can only make one seed since she is still new. Zuyi ain't about unpaid labor, so he instantly turns around to leave, which flusters the consciousness even more. Finally, she caves in, but in exchange, Zuyi must make a knightly vow to ensure that he protects Blue Star. This time, Zuyi agrees and holy symbols surround him as he makes the vow. The great consciousness feels scammed by their deal, yet still gives him the World Seed. With that, he returns home and gives it to his sleeping daughter, vowing to protect her. Afterward, he continues to read his Fathering 101 books to learn how to be a better dad. Meanwhile, Bower continues to talk about her mother in her sleep. The connection in her head extends to another place with a crimson moon. At the end of the connection, we see a beautiful white-haired lady reminiscing as she looks at a picture of Bower. That's right, folks, a sneak peek into Bower's mommy. It is now the next day. A proud rooster stands up and prepares to caw majestically to disturb everyone's peaceful sleep, but was shut down by our boy Aguai. No one disturbs our Bower's sleep. Agu can be seen helping Zuyi dress as Bower goes down the stairs. She groggily asks her father where he was going, to which he replies that he was heading to work. Hearing this, all her sleepiness literally disappears in a blink of an eye as she dashes towards the stairs like a hyperactive gerbil and begs him to take her with him. What an awesome child. Although hesitant at first, he caves to her request and even hooks her up with a drippy helmet. She really got that drip. Looking good there, Bower. As they drive, several vehicles whiz past them, which surprises Bower. She asks Zuyi why they are going so fast. He looks up at the sign that shows the speed limit is 60 kilometers per hour, remembering a tip from his book to always include "oh," "what," and "yeah" when answering the questions. He answers that they are speeding. What the heck? Well, Bower thinks that how he said that word was weird. She is just a kid, yet she has better grammar than her father. Quickly pushing that thought away, she asks him they couldn't speed too. But suddenly a loud crash interrupts their conversation. He stops his motorcycle and sees that one of the speeding cars has crashed on the side of the road. Looking at the driver's seat, he was met with a familiar face. It is the rude picture girl from Chapter 1. Chapter 9 starts and we cut to a few minutes earlier where the girl can be seen speeding on the freeway while on the call. She brags to the person on the call about buying a new car. Now, she's testing its performance on the road. The person on the phone warns her that she just got her license and that she should just slow down. However, as if the person jinxed her, she swerves to avoid a speeding motorcycle and spirals out of control, crashing into a building. Pain. It overcomes her senses as she could hear the yelling of bystanders. From her perspective, she sees somebody approach the vehicle while the others call for an ambulance. The man leans down and reveals himself as Zuyi, with Bower in his hands. Pretty sure that's child endangerment, but he's a first-time father, so let's cut him some slack here, guys. With one fluid motion, he rips off the car door, much to the surprise of several bystanders. The girl can be seen leaning on the driver's seat, with metal debris piercing her chest. He asks her what her name was as he grips the debris in one hand, to which the girl weakly introduces herself as Wang Jiao Jiao. Zuyi compliments her for having a beautiful name before violently ripping the debris off her chest. Our MC has that traumatic riz. He then uses a healing spell on her before rushing to leave the scene. Soon the ambulance arrives. The personnel were expecting her to be in a critical state, but were surprised to see that she was mostly fine. An officer who arrived at the scene started to question the bystanders, but was confused by their reports of a man carrying a child who ripped open the door and saved her life. When asked where this man was, they all simultaneously pointed at one spot only to realize that he disappeared. Meanwhile, both Zhu Yi and Bao Er finally arrive at the gym. Bao Er looks at her daddy proudly. He can do magic. Zhu Yi puts a finger to his lips and tells her that this must be their secret, which is irrelevant considering there have been several eyewitnesses already. But still, Bao Er cutely covers her mouth and promises to keep it a secret. What a cute panel here, guys. A voice from the engine calls out to Bao Er. It was senior sister Shang, which Bao Er excitedly greets. She asks her why they were so late, to which Bao Er was about to answer, but remembering her promise to her father, she tells senior sister Shang, well, it was a secret. This makes Zhu Yi proud of his daughter, but his pride was instantly betrayed when she instead whispered it into her ear so that he can't hear her. But knowing that she probably won't take Bao Er's words seriously, Zhu Yi strolls into the building, where he is greeted by a muscular man who offers his hand and introduces himself as a fighting instructor, Zhang Dahai. As Zhu Yi grabs his hand, a menacing smile appears on Zhang Dahai's face as he intends to test him by crushing his hand. But no matter how hard he squeezed, Zhu Yi did not react and instead introduces himself as a sword instructor. His reaction angers Zhang Dahai as he plots to embarrass him. However, all his thoughts were erased when he gently pats his shoulder, nearly breaking his clavicle and making him collapse. This surprises the students, who rush to support him while Zhu Yi walks past to enter his new office. There, Bao Er bugs him to let her play. He tries to gently decline her, but senior sister Shang enters the room with some tea and allows her to play while reminding her not to leave the school. Overjoyed, she runs out of the town, or the room, to have her own little adventures. Meanwhile, the adults get down to business. Zhu Yi asks sister how many instructors and students the school has. Embarrassed, she says that there is only one instructor and 2 students so far, but she reassures him that she was able to advertise to students and that after the summer vacation, there should be some new applicants. Zhu Yi digests the information. With little students, he won't be able to do much yet. He then asks her if she had any information on the local underground markets. Curious, senior sister asks why he wants to know about them, to which he replies that it is almost Bao Er's birthday and he wants to buy something special for her. Our little ball of wholesomeness deserves some of the good stuff. Senior sister thinks for a while and remembers that her father has a membership card for the Xixi market in Jicheng district. She explains that it used to be a martial arena, but a year or 2 ago, it was bought under new management. She offers him the membership card, but warns him that it is chaotic there. It would be too dangerous to go, but we all know nothing is standing between him and his daughter's happiness. Challenge accepted. The scene that suddenly shifts to the manager from earlier rushing towards Chang Mingzhe and Yuan Bin, who are seen enjoying themselves in a brothel. In a panic, he informs them that the men they sent with him have all died, including 2 transcendents. Yuan Bin has enraged by the news, gripping the manager by the collar, as he cannot believe one man was able to take them all down. However, Chan Mingzhe keeps a cool head and makes him explain the situation more clearly. All of a sudden, a sinister voice tells Chen Mingzhe to leave the place. Chen Mingzhe suddenly takes on a respectful tone and asks if he has any new instructions. A hooded figure that only Chen Mingzhe can see looms over the manager and explains to him that the person most probably has a means to track the manager down. He tells Mingzhe to stay put while he uses a magical device to enter his world before cutting off communication. Without further hesitation, Chen Mingzhe orders the guards to get rid of the manager while he and Yuan Bin leave. The scene then shifts to a huge modern building. Bao Er is amazed by the sight as they approached it. The pair were stopped at the entrance by the guard who says that it wasn't open to the public. He says that if they were there to enter the tournament, they should line up at the side entrance. Because of course, a man holding a child is a prime candidate for martial arts tournaments. Zhu Yi takes out the membership card senior sister Shangge gave him and asks the guard to show him around. The guard was shocked once he saw the black master card. He immediately becomes more respectful and leads them inside the building. But as they enter, Zhu Yi senses something as he looks back to see a golden firework in the air. It is a signal that the manager has died. He uses his powers to see the body that was dumped in the middle of the ruins. However, to his surprise, he finds a familiar, otherworldly aura. But he was snapped out of it by his worried daughter, like, what the heck are you doing? Deciding to deal with it later, he follows the guard to an elevator that begins to descend to the market. Bao looks around in wonder as the guard gives Zhu Yi an introduction to the market. There are 5 levels in the marketplace. The floor he is taking him is the main training area, where the lower floors are fixed stalls. Zhu Yi asks him where he should go to sell something, to which the guard points out to him the self-service center, where he can make a temporary stall to sell things. Happy with his explanation, he tips the guard a golden coin that he gave at the early on chapters, and he goes around shopping for materials. After a while, he was able to buy enough materials to create his birthday gift for Bao. He even made a cute little sword for her as she is swinging around. Our little princess now has an amazing weapon, but she isn't the only one who thinks it's amazing. A shady-looking guy eyes the sword as the pair walks by. He trails the two as he intends to steal it from the child. But as he follows them, he suddenly realizes that everybody has disappeared. All of a sudden, a strong arm grips him by the arm. It is our boy Zhu Yi. He grips him tightly, asking him to answer the questions and why he was following them. As the man flails around, Zhu Yi uses his spirit vision to see that this guy is a spiritual transcendent. Zhu Yi decides to have a little talk with the man, but to preserve his image in his daughter's eyes, he allows her to play with his phone. With a gentle smile on his face, he tells her to turn around and play all she wants to, and only turn it back when Daddy calls. This makes Bao admire him. Her father is so gentle. She then takes his phone and earphones as Zhu Yi walks away with the man in tow. The dude threatens Zhu Yi, saying that he's the most famous informer in the black market. Big mistake, dude. Informer, you say. We then cut to the scene of Bao vibing to some music, completely oblivious to Zhu Yi unleashing the wrath on the poor man behind her. To be fair, that Cocomelon playlist really slaps. We then cut to later, where all 3 are sitting at the table as the now beaten up man introduces himself as Zhu Hong, a dude who made a name for himself after awakening the ability to see treasures. Him being familiar with the black market, Zhu Yi asks him about the current situation on the underground forces in Hangzhou. However, Zhu Hong meekly confesses that he was just a low servant and has no idea about the current forces. But not to be known as patient, Zhu Yi stabs a hole in the table with a single tap to remind him of his current situation. Our boy really can be dangerous sometimes. Scared out of his wits, Zhu Hong hurriedly offers to take or to talk about the open martial forces. He explains that the martial forces are divided into 2 sides. The east side is controlled by the Yuan family, and the west side is controlled by several local gyms led by Shanghai Martial Arts Gym and Tianhong Martial Arts Gym. But after the death of the Tianhong master, only Shanghai is left. The story also catches Baoer's attention while she stuffs her face with ice cream. Zhu Hong continues to explain that both Shanghai and Tianhong were under the master of Tianhai, but as the Grandmaster sensed that he was about to die, he gave the Tianhai sword, which is the legendary legacy of the school, to Shanghai, the master of Tianhong and Zhu Yi's master. However, Shao Xixiang, the master of Shanghai School, fights with Shanghai and was able to steal the scabbard away from him. This causes the gyms to be at odds with each other. Eventually, both gyms became way stronger. Several major martial arts schools tried to become closer to Shang Sensei, but were unable to. But that was until half a year ago, when Grandmaster Shang died of illness. On the day of his funeral, Shao's disciples took the sword by force, leaving Shang's daughter, who was poor in martial arts, to be all that's left, and eventually, the gym deteriorated. To make matters even worse, The Yuan family is starting to push into the west side too, but now that Zhu Yi is here, I think it's over. Zhu Yi digests both the information and the ice cream Bao Er feeds him. He suspects that his master's death was related to the Shanghai gym. He picks up Bao Er and rushes to the gym, promising to buy her more ice cream on the way. Surprised, Zhou Hong runs after him, asking where he was going to go because he wasn't finished yet. He stops as he nearly forgot about something. With a snap of his finger, a sword falls from the sky and nearly turns Zhu Hong into a human shish kebab. Zhu Yi orders him to sell it on his behalf, and he can take 10% of the profit before rushing away. Zhu Hong had some misgivings as he can see that the sword is way too valuable to be given to ordinary people. But without a choice, he agrees as Zhu Yi leaves the building. Suddenly, his spidey sense, virtue mark, starts tingling. He looks around to see somebody being harassed by a pointy stick. It's time for our MC to come to the rescue. The chapter starts, and the hooligans threaten the fat kid to hand over his money. The fatty could not do anything, and he could not even retaliate. He has always been a weak man and was picked on constantly. He braces himself as if hooligans attack him, but after a few moments, he realizes that nothing happened. Instead, he opens his eyes to see them floating in the air. A voice asks if he was okay, and he turns to see that it is Zhu Yi in all his manly and alpha glory. Our MC has really come to the rescue. The fat kid could not believe what he was seeing. He believes that God has helped him to send Zhu Yi here. All of a sudden, a strange aura escapes from the kid and enters Zhu Yi. He is surprised he recalls a time back in Sadea when he was taught by a nun about the 6 virtues of knighthood that can strengthen a knight with the power of utmost faith. Order, mercy, perseverance, independence, love, and righteousness. However, among the 7, order and mercy are the most demanding. This is because the forefathers exploited these 2 virtues to grind levels, angering the goddess of faith and making her fix it in the new patch, plus making it even more demanding to obtain the power of faith from. But stopping a mere robbery was able to trigger order and mercy? Looks like Blue Star didn't patch this exploit. This means he can continue to grow stronger. But then Bao Er started to kick up a fuss, calling him a liar for not buying her ice cream like he promised. And she's right here, guys. Give that girl her ice cream. He promises that he will buy her ice cream once they get back to the Tianhong school, which calms her down. He tells the fatty to go home as he walks away. However, the fatty has other thoughts. Did he just mention a martial arts school? Later, after buying her some ice cream and giving her a rubber band to do some sick physics-defying tricks with, Zhu Yi asked senior sister if his master's death had something to do with Shanghai. A look of sorrow appears on senior sister's face as she begs him not to talk about it. It is clear that it brought up some unpleasant memories from the past. However, their conversation was interrupted by Zhang Dahai, leading a bunch of uninterested kids into the office. He goes up to Zhu Yi and introduces him to the kids, but intentionally talks bad about him to disgrace him. One of the brats yells out his displeasure as he wants to be taught by someone knowledgeable. Did you really just say that? Zhang grits his teeth after seeing his stupid move backfire and tries to reassure him that he is a 3rd-level swordsman. But this makes the brat even madder. There are 9 levels and he's only level 3? This sounds like a scam, and this dude better shut up soon. Every word he says makes things even worse. Bao Er tries to butt in, but yells at them for calling her father weak. However, one stinky brat pulls a sword on her and demands a refund. Luckily, Zhu Yi was able to catch her. Oh, this brat is fortunate. If he wasn't a miner, this dude would be 6 feet underground from our boy, Zhu Yi. As the senior sister steps in to calm the situation, somebody from the entrance yells for her to wait. It is Wang Jiao Jiao, and she says, while holding several shopping bags, as well as a fat kid from earlier, that they both want to join. As Wang Jiao Jiao enthusiastically walks up to Zhu Yi, Bao Er and her recognize each other, and Wang Jiao Jiao greets her by pulling on the girl's cheeks. Senior sister was curious to know how these kids knew Zhu Yi, and she asks him. However, Wang Zhaozhao answers in his place and in his stead, and explains that he saved her before. Now she wants to learn sword arts from him. The fat kid tries to also go sign up, but he was interrupted by another shout from the entrance. A large group of people wearing blue martial arts uniforms and carrying all sorts of high-quality equipment saunter into the room, led by a man named Chang Hongdao, a student of Shanghai School. He grins cockily as he greets senior sister. This is the end of the chapter. Zhang steps forward and angrily asks why he is here. However, Chang Hongdao arrogantly looks at him and brushes him off, calling him a small dog. This nearly pops a blood vessel on Zhang Dehai, but senior sister stops him before he can do anything rash and asks them, what do they want? Cheng replies that he simply wants to have a friendly little spar, since it is Tianhong's recruitment today. Senior sister refuses, as she knows that it is simply a trap and she tries to turn away. But her reaction seems to fuel Cheng's ego as he taunts that they are too scared to fight. Zhang's blood pressure could not take any more of this. He yells for Chao to shut up and he attacks him. However, Chao catches his fist with ease and knees him in the ribs. Senior sister helps him up and accuses Chao of breaking the rules of the martial union to force a challenge. Chao just smiles and makes the excuse that it was self-defense. However, if she does not accept their spar, he threatens to come back here every single day until Tianhong cannot even stay open. But a voice suddenly tells him that that is not needed. Zuyi walks forward and accepts his challenge. Senior sister hurriedly tries to convince him to stop. Chao is a high-ranking martial artist. An ordinary martial artist has no chance. But Chao arrogantly says that he would not bully them and calls over 3 other students. Meanwhile, the others set up a high-quality camera to record the fight. They probably would expect to record their own butt-whooping in 4K HD TV. Completely oblivious to the hole he is digging himself in, Chao says that there will be 3 matches. If they win even one, they will go away. However, if they win all 3, they have to give up their martial arts and shut down. Senior sister hesitates to accept, but Zuyi encourages her to do it and adds that she should add the Tianhai sword to the bet. She was surprised that he knows about the sword. However, Zuyi just tells her to trust him. After a little deliberation, she finally decides to accept the challenge, on the condition that they bet the sword too. Chao was angered by her condition. However, her insistence on the matter finally makes him cave to her demand. He sets up a broadcast with the excuse of making sure that the bet will be done, but in reality, it is also a setup to further embarrass the school. Zhang offers to go first, but Zuyi refutes him and says that he will go first. Having a flashback to when he nearly broke his shoulder in a single bat, he realizes that, hey, I think this is a good idea, and he backs away. That's right, you've done enough already. Have a timeout. But as Zuyi prepares to go, Bauer tugs on his pants and begs him not to fight. How cute of this, guys. She saw how Zhang got destroyed earlier, and is worried that he may get hurt. Zuyi kneels down and reassures his daughter everything is good. However, still not convinced, she argues that only bad kids fight, so he should not do so. They go back and forth, much to Zuyi's dismay, before he finally tells her that he needs to do this to protect both the school and her. As he looks up at the school's sign, he feels Bauer's small hand on his face. With determined puppy eyes, she promises to protect him as well. Just the sight of that alone would make any father solo an entire army no problem. With extra motivation from his daughter, Zuyi prepares for this fight. As the broadcast starts, comments supporting Shanghai and looking down on Tianhong fill the stream as Zuyi squares up against his opponent, a guy named Wang Haiwei, who is also a level 3. Chao holds a microphone and explains the rules of the exchange to the online audience, which fires them up even more like when I watch a CSGO opening stream. The entire audience believes that Tianhong is no match for Shanghai and are looking forward to seeing a team wipe. Wang Zhaozhao was also watching the broadcast when she hurriedly runs towards senior sister. She shows her a comment that reveals that Zuyi's opponent is actually a level 6 and is hiding his strength. Senior sister tries to warn Zuyi about the danger that was to come, but unfortunately, it was too late, but I don't think it really mattered. The bell rings and Wang Highway instantly dashes towards Zhu Yi, intending to catch him by surprise. From behind, senior sister Bao'er sees the sudden attack and panics. Her father is in danger! Oh no! A bright power originating from her world seed spreads out from her and rushes towards Zhu Yi's opponent. Zhu Yi senses the aura and was distracted for a moment, prompting Wang Jiaojiao to yell at him to concentrate. However, her worries were unfounded as the power materializes into tree branches and bind the opponent. This shocks both Wang Highway and the audience as they do not know what the heck just happened. Zhu Yi yells for Bao'er to stop, but he was too late. Not staying idle, his opponent uses his power to break out of the binds, causing a backlash that makes Bao'er faint. Turns out, guys, that he was actually a transcendental. He then closes the distance and slashes at him. However, to his shock, the blade broke upon contact. But his surprises don't even stop there. He looks around to realize that he wasn't in the dojo anymore. As he looks up, he sees Zhu Yi flying in the sky, donning his full armor and brandishing his holy blade. Several holy symbols and a sword of light materializes behind him as he draws his sword to cut him down. Hurting his daughter is unforgivable. Anybody who hurts Bao'er must die. The MC looks so cool in this scene that the translator was caught lacking. I can't really blame him though. Full-powered MC looks super cool, guys. The man is frozen in fear, believing that he is face to face with an angel of God. However, it was all revealed to be an illusion Zhu Yi used. But still horrified by what he saw, the opponent falls to his knees and begs for his life. Much to the online viewers' confusion, but Zhu Yi was not going to let this slide, and he releases his aura, which breaks all the equipment and even punches a hole through the window. Now everybody is starting to have an idea just how badly they screwed up. With a wave of his sword, a strange energy slashes his opponent and straight up erases him out of existence. Chao is shocked by what he sees. This guy can use sword energy. Zhu Yi then rushes to his daughter's side and casts a healing spell on her. Thankfully, she has no serious injuries. Zhu Yi looks up to see the Shanghai students cowardly running away, but he does not intend to end things there. He goes to the broken window and takes off, intending to find Xiao Shixiong and get an explanation. As he takes off, his two future students look up in wonder, believing that he was some sort of fairy or angel. Well, so much for keeping this a secret between him and Bao'er. He quickly arrives in front of the Shanghai martial arts gym and demanded that Xiao meets him. A voice from inside tells him that he's not feeling well and that they should meet another time. Inside, a student can be seen arguing with Master Xiao. He believes that Zhu Yi only won through luck and that they have nothing to fear, but sadly, luck is not real. Xiao grabs his walking stick and strikes him in the ribs for his idiotic statement. He was disappointed in his student Chao Honggao. Usually, he would not mind him recruiting some crooks, but disguising a transcendent as an ordinary martial artist is a different matter. Curious, the student asks him what a transcendent was. Xiao explains that they are extraordinary people who hide in the shadows and cannot accept or attack ordinary people. However, the student becomes skeptical. Since they hide all the time and cannot attack people, they are pretty weak in his mind. Xiao was once again disappointed in his student's stupidity, really dude, and further explains that even the lowest level transcendent is stronger than martial arts masters. Finally, the student connects the dots and realizes how much trouble they are in right now. However, the discussion was interrupted by a large bang, followed by a flying object that lands in front of the two. It is our boy Zhu Yi. With his murder in his eyes, he tells a pair that he is here for only one thing, to destroy this place. Not after long, Chan Honggao arrives with the other students. He rushes to his master to check if he was okay when he catches sight of the object Zhu Yi threw. It was actually their martial arts sign that was hung outside. In a rage, he charges Zhu Yi, but was stopped by Xiao, who slaps him across the face for his naivete and his stupidity. Seriously, having such dumb students can't be good for this old man's heart. He interrogates him on Wang Highway's whereabouts, to which Chao meekly replies that he disappeared under Zhu Yi's sword energy. Oh, so he remembers that, but he still thought he had a chance. This dude is way too confident. Xiao fills with dread as he remembers his master talk about sword energy before. He respectfully bows to Zhu Yi and apologizes for his student's mistake, promising to take him to the gate. The gate, by the way, that they're mentioning is not explained though, guys. Zhu Yi suddenly feels Bao Wei squirms in his arm as she mumbles out his name. Even when she's unconscious, she still worries about her father. He then tells Xiao that according to the rules of transcendence, as long as he can take one punch from him, that the matter ends here. But if he can't, his disciples will have to take turns until the last one falls. Hearing this, the students bow towards their master, offering themselves to take the hit instead of him. Although anxious, he warns Zhu Yi not to go overboard, but Zhu Yi retorts, saying that those who are to blame should not be pitied. The students all stand up, eager to fight for their master, but Xiao silences them. He knows nobody is match for a transcendental, and decides that the matter has to end with him. The scene changes to the dojo where Xiao and Zhu Yi face off against each other. Xiao arms himself with the Tianxi sword, while Zhu Yi remains unarmed while holding on the sleeping Bao Wei. Although unarmed, the sheer power emanating from Zhu Yi makes Xiao's hands tremble. He could not imagine that a transcendental would be just this powerful, especially at such a young age as well. But the fear awakens something in him. Inside his body, a blue crystal snaps out of the chains that bind him, and with a mighty roar, power surges through Xiao. This dude just cut a real Dragon Ball Z power-up. Zhu Yi's surprised, and he just awakened on the spot, and he became as strong as a knight trainee. Xiao's confidence rises as his new power fills his body. He dashes towards Zhu Yi and swings his sword, intending to cut this cocky transcendent with his new power. But what can a knight trainee do to a knight of the sanctuary? Zhu Yi gathers power into his hand, and with a single punch, stops Xiao in its tracks and even destroys his newfound power. This dude just became a transcendent, but his power was immediately taken away. That's what you get for messing with Bao Wei, that little girl. As Xiao kneels in defeat, Zhu Yi casts the spell that controls his mind and begins interrogating him. He asks Xiao if he was the one who killed his master, but to his surprise, Xiao denies it. But if he didn't do it, who did? Zhu Yi realizes that there is more to this story, and I'm enjoying this lore. He takes the Tianhai sword and leaves the dojo as the Shanghai students rush over to check on their master. Meanwhile, we cut to another scene of a large industrial building. Inside, Chang Mingzhe can be seen reading a book when he receives a call from his phone. The caller ID reveals that it was Yuan Bin who is calling him. Chang Mingzhe accepts the call and asks Yuan Bin what was wrong. Yuan Bin informs him that the men he lent him were killed by a transcendent he was after in the black market, and he wishes to ask for some B-level transcendents for backup. Surprised, Chen Minzei asks who eliminated his men. Yuan Bin hesitates for a moment and meekly answers that it was Zhu Yi. Shock fills Chen Mingzei as he angrily grabs his phone and berates Yuan Bin since he told him not to mess with the dude. Yuan Bin tries to explain himself, but Chen Minzei ends the call and throws his phone away. He looks out of the window of the building, trying to think of a way out of the situation. He did not expect that Zhu Yi is capable of defeating a B-level transcendent, and he does not know when the Wizard Lord who warned him of Zhu Yi will be able to arrive into this world of Blue Star. As he looks at the golden coin he obtained from Zhu Yi, he realizes that he cannot do this alone. He picks up his phone and decides to contact somebody he respectfully calls Uncle Hikaru Nakamura. Uncle Hikari. The chapter starts, and meanwhile, back at Tianhong, the students of Zhang can be seen talking to each other worriedly. They are afraid that Zhu Yi would push his luck and end up defeated. However, Wang Zhaojiao brushes off their concerns as she believes in his power. As they talk amongst themselves, Fatty notices someone approach the school. It is Zhu Yi. He is back here. Wang Zhaozhao drags Fatty as she hurriedly goes forward to greet their new master, and she shows off their brand new uniforms. However, he simply ignores them and walks past. Instead, he approaches senior sister, who becomes emotional when he shows her the Tianhai sword. Her father's legacy has returned to its rightful place. We skip later to where senior sister enters her apartment along with Zhu Yi and the now awake Bao Er. Senior sister's mother approaches the door to ask why she was so early, and when she catches the sight of Zhu Yi comes forward and greets his late master's wife, offering her gifts and affectionately calling her mom. She was happy to see him and invites both of them to sit down so that she can catch up with him. Zhu Yi tries to ask about his master but was interrupted by her greeting Bao Er, saying that he has heard a lot about her from the senior sister. He tries to bring it up again, but she seems to not have heard him as she tries to continue to gush about how lovely Bao Er is and how pretty the mother must be. Zhu Yi knows that she is intentionally trying to dodge the question, but he has to know what happened to his master. Sadness fills his master's wife's eyes as she stands up and reluctantly tells him to follow her. Zhu Yi tells Bao Er to play with the senior sister while she follows her. She leads him to a cabinet where she pulls out a box and gives it to Zhu Yi. He opens the box and was surprised to find a book inside that said the words Tian Ho Sword Guide at the front. It was his master's sword guide. She explains that in his will, his master said that whoever defeats Xiao Shi Xiong and brings back the Tianhai sword will receive his sword guide. Zhu Yi then asks her how he died. She sighs as she explains that his master knew his personality and forbade her from telling him if they met again. However, seeing his determination, she decides to tell him on the condition that he must not be impulsive. She asks Zhu Yi if he remembers Ling Yu, the poor boy that his master brought in before he left. Well, she reveals that it was he who plotted against his master and injured him. He knew that the sword guide was the reason his master was able to become a grand master, and colluded with outsiders to plan on assassinating him. Zhu Yi was devastated by the news. He goes through the book to see what kind of secret was in the sword guide, but to his surprise, he recognizes the forms. He remembers his master back then, telling him that this sword master was his daughter's dowry, and that he should marry his daughter so that he can learn his technique. However, he was disinterested and refused. His master was pissed off that his honey trap did not work, but was unwilling to let such talent go to waste. Turns out that what the master has actually been teaching him all these years were from the sword guide. But he was confused. Why did Ling Yu come back for the manual if master was injured? Just as he asked the question, senior sister enters the room and answers him. Before her father could die at his hands, the martial arts league stepped in and negotiated with Ling Yu. But this confuses Zhu Yi even more. Her father was a grandmaster. Even if he was injured, he would not die as long as he gets treatment, which I think makes sense. The chapter starts and senior sister says that she tried or they tried everything. They even invited the most famous doctor in the capital to treat him. This makes Zhu Yi ponder. He makes a connection between Ling Yu and the Longwu group, and he asks if it was a powerhouse of the capital, which confuses senior sister, but she says yes. Suddenly, she connects the dots. Maybe Ling Yu bribed the doctor. Power surges from Zhu Yi once more as he goes to leave while asking senior sister to take care of Bao Er. She frantically warns Zhu Yi to not be impulsive, and if Ling Yu is in command of Longwu, then they cannot afford to offend him. But Zhu Yi reassures her that he will be fine and tells them to stay put until he returns. As he goes down the stairs of the apartment, he uses his powers to hone in on Ling Yu's location and eventually finds him. But he was stopped at the entrance of the building by a gloomy-looking guy and a green-haired girl. Zhu Yi judges from their auras they emit that they are transcendents, and they are most probably here for that fiasco at Shanghai that he caused. The green-haired lady offers him a business card and introduces herself as Qin Qin, the Secretary General of the Management Bureau in charge of large cities, also known as the Extraordinary Affairs Bureau or the Transcendent Management Bureau. Dang it, that is a lot of names. She asks him if he was familiar with it, to which Suyi replies, "No, I'm not, dude," or "girl," and then he asks what they were there for. Chin informs him that she's here regarding his actions with the two martial halls, just as he's expected. He prepares himself for a fight as Chin reaches for her bag, but instead of drawing a weapon, confetti and sparkles appear behind her as she pulls out a letter of invitation for him to join their burrow. Zuyi stands there, unfazed, taken aback. He did not expect them to invite him. Moreover, he's probably wondering where she got all those sparkles and confetti from. But the awkward moment was short-lived, as they both sensed large fluctuations emanating from the area. A storm starts to brew as a dark rift materializes above the city. Zuyi recognizes that it was an alien invasion. Chin urgently tells her partner to call headquarters to report the invasion. However, the gloomy dude keeps calm and tells her that the headquarters is faster in responding to the threat than they are. In the sky, several beams of light can be seen approaching the dark rift. They were all A-rank transcendentals, sent to deal with the problem. But in the next moment, they were all pushed back by a surge of power. A hooded figure emerges from the rift, speaking in a strange language Chin could not understand. She stands there, frozen in horror as she looks at the seemingly heavenly or demonic being that has descended. With the appearance of danger, the world's consciousness voice enters Zuyi's ears and begins to pester him about his vow. Annoyed by the nagging, he reassures her that he will take care of it. Up in the sky, the figure looks upon the land and admits that this was a very fascinating world. A voice behind him agrees, saying that it is also very beautiful and full of vitality. The figure absent-mindedly agrees and likens the beauty to his dead wife, but does a double take as he realizes that the voice was speaking in the ancient Kun language just like him. He looks back to see our boy Zuyi enter the gap to confront him. The figure eyes him warily, because anyone who knows the ancient Kun language is not ordinary. He tries to appease the strange man and invites him to talk instead. But this move was a farce. He summons a flying skull to quickly take him by surprise. Zuyi recognizes the spell and realizes that the figure is a legendary wizard. He summons his holy sword, which creates a barrier that blocks the attack. Fear overcomes the wizard, as he recognizes that the sword he is holding is from the Dragon Knight Zuyi, and he realizes that yes, it is Zuyi. He says that was impossible because he saw him perish with Thor in Sadea. Zuyi feels a hint of nostalgia as it has been a while since somebody recognizes him. He raises the sword and questions where the heck he was from. The wizard knows that he was no match for a knight of the sanctuary, so he makes up his mind to escape. He smashes his wizard staff on the ground, which emits a huge surge of power. It was a high-level chaos technique, Fiendish Domain. He uses it to buy some time as he escapes. However, he underestimated Zuyi's strength. Gathering his power, he uses his own chivalrous skill, Sacred Domain. It instantly destroys the wizard's spell and ruins his escape. Let me know what you guys thought about the latest Jujutsu Kaisen episode. The wizard braces himself against Zuyi's attack, but was eventually overwhelmed by his prompting him to fall from the sky. But he was caught by Zuyi wearing his full paladin armor and was raised by the neck. He calmly tells him to answer his questions, as the wizard continues to burn under his holy power. The wizard fearfully asks if he would let him go if he did, and in response, Zuyi looks him dead in the eyes, telling him that there isn't a chance that he would let him go. Realizing that he's dead meat, either way, he laughs and taunts Zuyi. "Congratulations, you just pissed off the MC." In his other hand, he summons a scroll filled with strange inscriptions. Fear once again takes over the wizard, as he recognizes it as the Light of Judgment. This scroll can only be obtained after hundreds of bishops and a legendary-level pope pray for 100 days and nights, and is capable of eliminating all evil. He desperately pleads with Zuyi, saying that he is willing to say everything, but it was too late. The inscriptions all light up and fly out of the scroll to enter the wizard's mouth. The wizard screams in pain until he was reduced to nothing but a crystal. Zuyi takes the crystal and begins to read the wizard's memories. He wasn't supposed to be able to locate this planet with his capabilities. In his memories, he sees how the wizard was able to use the authority of the golden coin he stole to locate this place. He also learned about Chen Mingzhe, who was the mastermind behind all this. Luckily, wizards are selfish by nature and don't share their coordinates, so he only had to deal with one. With the danger gone, the consciousness appears in front of Zuyi and thanks him. She touches his chest and suddenly he is filled with the power of faith, which improves his strength once more. Feeling the power inside of him, Zuyi becomes suspicious. Blue Star is definitely a young world. However, it can supply him with such high-level faith, but the consciousness just smiles and says, "May the law be with you," which according to the translator is a Star Wars reference, like "May the Fourth be with you." The consciousness is a Jedi confirmed. He floats back down to the ground where he is surprised to see that Chin and her partner have not left yet. After seeing him take care of the intruder, she was even more determined to invite him in. However, he says that he will just consider it. Before she can chase after him, his partner grabs her and urges her to read the information headquarters just sent. Doing as he says, she was shocked to see that the headquarters have designated him as an S tier. As Zuyi returns to Senior Sister's apartment, he ponders about this extraordinary affairs bureau. Senior Sister can be seen waiting for him outside and rushes to him to check if he was okay. He decides to put both the bureau and Long Yu behind for now, because tomorrow is an important day. After all, it is Bao'er's birthday. Streamers and balloons decorate the zoo residence the next day in preparation for Bao'er's birthday. In the backyard, Aegu can be seen preparing a very tall cake, designed with all things Bao'er loves. Meanwhile, the birthday girl is fast asleep. Her sleep doesn't look peaceful though. She has a nightmare where she sees her father get stabbed by Wang Haiwei. This scares her so badly that she wakes up suddenly, calling for her father. Zhu Yi rushes into the room to see a teary-eyed pud-relieved Bao'er. She throws off the covers and cries as she hugs her father's leg. Zhu Yi crouches down and gently reassures his daughter. The interactions in this manhwa are hecka wholesome. Now that Zhu Yi has mastered the art of fathering, thankfully she's mentally recovered and the world tree seed in her has even nourished. Agu walks into the room and informs Zhu Yi that his guests have arrived. As he goes down to greet them, a mini version of Aguai appears on his shoulder and informs him that an unfamiliar transcendent is among the guests. He was surprised as Transcendental is here, but assures Aguai that he will check it out himself, as he carries his daughter down to open the gates, which always looks like a cool scene. The first to greet him at the gates was Fatty, followed by all of their acquaintances. Bao'er reaches out to her Auntie Shang and Grandma, which allows Zhu Yi to approach the last guest. The Transcendental turns out to be Qin, who offers him a gift she prepared for Bao'er. He accepts the gift and beckons her and guests inside. Qin attempts some small talk by complimenting how big his yard is, but Zhu Yi just brushes it off and straight away asks, "What did you want?" She was surprised by the stiff change of topic, but composes herself and asks him about the offer to join the bureau. Offering another letter, Zhu Yi summons Aegu to take the presents to the backyard while he opens the letter. As he tries to ask how to join, he notices Qin looking weirdly at Aegu. Shocked by his appearance, she asked what that was, to which Zhu Yi replies that that is his butler. She nervously says that he has a very unique look, as she proceeds to explain how to join. Does she have a problem because Aegu is blue? That's kind of racist, I'm not gonna lie. She should work on that. She explains the contents of the letter, which states that he could either be department head, a part-time worker, or a consultant. Without hesitation, Zhu Yi chooses to be a consultant and hands her back the letter. Qin respectfully calls him Consultant Zhu and reminds him to visit the bureau for registration and to obtain his rating, but he decides to do it after finishing work in the martial arts hall. Now that they have finished talking, they join the party where Aegu can be seen holding a large egg covered in mysterious symbols. The youngsters stare in wonder, and Bao'er asks Aegu what it was. Aegu replies that it is a gift from her father, a puppy. All three were confused. A dog that comes from an egg? It does not seem possible. But then again, right in front of them is a literally blue giant genie, so anything is possible at this point. Egu tells Bauer to touch the egg to awaken her gift, while trying to ignore Fatty's incessant poking. As soon as she touches it, a burst of light appears from the egg that captivates her. Then, the egg cracks in half, and sure enough, a puppy jumps out. Bauer looks excited, while Wang Jiaojiao is left shocked by this display of unconventional biology. Zhu Yi is happy that his daughter enjoys his gift, and suggests that she names it. She instantly thinks of what I assume is a Chinese joke I don't get, and proudly names it Taiki. Algu watches as she happily plays with her new puppy. However, he wonders if she should be happy or if she would be happy once it grows up, because Taiki is actually just a baby Cerberus, the most notorious and fearsome hellhound. The chapter starts, and the next day, Zhu Yi can be seen brushing his daughter's teeth as they both prepare to go to his work. She asks him, "Where was Taiki?" To which he replies that Egu is taking it on a stroll. Curious, she asks her father what a stroll was, but before he could explain, Taiki dashes into the room with a phone in his mouth, and with Egu desperately holding on to the end of the leash as he thrashed around like a ragdoll. Poor Egu, instead of walking the dog, he was walked instead. Seeing this, Bauer gets the idea that taking a stroll is like flying a kite. Zhu Yi was too distracted to correct, though Taiki offers him his phone, ignoring the deceased Egu. Zhu Yi takes his phone while Bauer gives Taiki a big hug for being a good boy. He realizes that he forgot that he put his phone on mute and has missed a few calls from Senior Sister. He tells Egu, who seems to have recovered from his deadly tango, to continue brushing Bauer's teeth while he calls Senior Sister. Senior Sister's voice urgently tells him to come to the Marshall Hall once the call connects. Thinking there was a problem, he asks if she was okay, to which she replies that it's hard to explain and that he should just come here quickly. As the father and daughter pair arrives on the scene, they are greeted by the sight of a large crowd gathering in front of Tianhong Martial Arts School. Bauer is amazed as she looks at the sea of people composed of kids and adults alike. One person streaming shows a hole in the window and explains to his online audience that it was made by the martial artist who destroyed the Shanghai Martial Arts Gym. Our bro really is a Twitch streamer. There is even a TV reporter on the scene. The reporter explains that somebody recorded a video of Zhu Yi challenging the Shanghai school alone, and it went crazy viral overnight. Now, people line up in front of the martial hall to learn from the strong master. As Zhu Yi attempts to get into the building, he passes by the person streaming this event. His audience has a sharp eye as they quickly point him out to the streamer. In excitement, he turns around and yells out loud that the amazing master is right here. This instantly brings attention to him as everybody starts to gather around. The large crowd is over-enthusiastic, and it scares Bauer as Taiki bares his teeth menacingly to protect his master. Seeing this, Zhu Yi releases his power as he yells for the crowd to stop. Everyone instantly stops their tracks, mesmerized by the display of power. Zhu Yi calmly tells them to queue up and register upstairs before going up. After he leaves, the crowd snaps out of it and starts to queue up quietly. As he arrives on his floor, he is greeted by the other members of the gym. Zhu Yi asks Senior Sister what was going on downstairs. Senior Sister simply takes his hand and tells him to come inside to talk about it. As they enter the office, the telephone goes off. Senior Sister explains that it has been ringing non-stop for a while now, and business has been booming ever since a video of his challenge went viral online. Zhu Yi then realizes that everybody downstairs was here to learn from him. He nearly forgot how fast information gets around in Blue Star. But Senior Sister's face suddenly becomes serious as she tells him to follow her downstairs. Confused, Zhu Yi asks why, to which she replies that the Longwu group is here for him. Downstairs, a fancy car stops in front of the building. A line of martial artists clear a path in the crowd as they respectfully accompany a rich-looking man wearing a suit. People in the crowd recognize him as someone from the Longwu group. They must be here to try and poach away Instructor Zhu. As Zhu Yi exits the building, the man approaches him and introduces himself as Wang Sheng, the general manager of the Longwu Group. Senior sister is enraged by this thick skin. They still dare to show up here even after what they did to her father. However, Wang Shen blatantly ignores her and offers Zhu Yi his business card. He informs him that he is interested in appointing him as the director of Longwu Group. Senior sister was angered even further by his blatant disregard for her and slaps away the business card he was holding. However, he only looks at her with disdain and says that Mr. Zhu deserves to be in a high position and that she shouldn't meddle in people's affairs. He kneels to pick up his business card as he tells Zhu Yi that if he becomes a director, they can help him become the leader of all martial artists in Jiangnan province. But her MC ain't interested in all of that, and as a man of God, he has principles. He ruthlessly stamps on his hand and refuses him outright. What a cool move. Wang Shen cries out in pain as his head was crushed. He did not expect Zhu Yi to react this way. He angrily reminds him that he has a grudge against their Longwu Group after what they did to his master. As he releases his hand, he tells him to warn Ling Yu that he is coming for him tomorrow. Wang Shen scurries off, holding his injured hand. He curses Zhu Yi under his breath, calling him a fool for not adapting to the current trend. But we know this dude got off pretty lightly. Zhu Yi could have easily ripped his arm off with that stomp. He enters the car and leaves as Zhu Yi goes back into the martial hall. As he enters the gym though, he was greeted by bursts of confetti. Bao Er was mesmerized by the confetti as Fatty and Wang Jiao, holding party poppers, congratulate their master for becoming viral. However, he coldly corrects that he is simply their teacher, not their master. His response dampens the festive mood. And sadly, Fatty tells Wang Jiao that Zhu Yi does not seem to like them very much. But their mood was lifted when Zhu Yi tells them that there is a way to become his disciple. He enters the gym and casts a spell on the entrance. He then tells both of them that if they are able to walk up to the stake and strike it with their sword, he will consider taking them as his disciples. Wang Jiao eagerly jumps at the opportunity and confidently walks in first. She tells Fatty, whose name is finally revealed to be Xiao Xiang, after being introduced 10 chapters ago, that he should call her senior sister in the future. But all of her momentum vanished when she enters the room and faceplants into the floor. She is surprised to find that her body has become several times heavier after entering the room. Xiao Xiang rushes over to check if she's okay, but falls too once he enters the room. Zhu Yi goads them on, saying that if they can't stand up, then they cannot be his disciples. Determined to become his disciple, Wang Jiao stands up, followed by Xiao Xiang, and they both slowly but surely approach the stake. Bao Er looked confused after seeing their suffering and asks her father what they are doing. He explains to her that while reminiscing about his own night's virtue test, he remembers struggling while his old teacher berates him for falling to the ground. But he refused to give up, and so with great determination, he was able to stand back up again and hit the stake so hard that it shatters with his blade. And just like him, his two new disciples hit the stake and passed the knight's virtue test. With Blue Star's location being exposed, having two disciples would greatly help him in defending this planet. He congratulates them both for passing the test and becoming beginner disciples. But wanting to join in on the fun, Bao Er raises her tiny wooden sword and says that she wants to become a disciple as well. Zhu Yi agrees instantly and makes her his junior disciple. Ah, the benefits of an OP father. But before he could teach them anything, senior sister enters the room and tells him that Secretary Shin was in his office waiting for him. Curious if she has a mission for him, he enters his office where he was greeted by her. She offers him another gift and congratulates him for growing popularity. However, she knows she isn't just here for that and asks her if she was here to give a mission. Chin denies it and explains that she is just here to get him to go to the bureau for registration and rating. Her boss has been nagging at her for a while now, so she couldn't help but rush it. Zhu Yi understands her situation though and asks if he can bring 2 more. Shin hesitates as it is technically not allowed, but knowing she can't really do anything to him if he insists, she decides to let it go. Soon, Secretary Chin and Zhu Yi, alongside his two disciples, arrive at the Hangzhou Riverside Administrative District Police Station. These dudes really do have a knack for creating long names for their things, huh? Bauer stares into wonder at all the tall buildings as all of them step out of the car. Wang Zhaozhao, on the other hand, is confused why her master brought them to a police station. Qian then leads them to the building. She explains to Zhu Yi that their office was on the 39th floor, while their testing facilities and training area are located underground. If he wishes to visit them in the future, he can directly go to the underground parking lot. So without further ado, she opens the doors and welcomes them to the heart of all transcendental affairs in Guangzhou. Inside, members can be seen busily going about their day as they all finish their jobs. It is time for Zhu Yi to see what this world's transcendentals have to offer.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the secret ending of the video. Make sure to comment down ramen if you enjoyed it, and let me know down below in the comments what your favorite part was. Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button, and I'll see you guys in the future videos.